From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Our top story, a grand jury has indicted the Fairbanks man accused of killing his girlfriend in an accident while driving intoxicated.
26-year-old Kieran Duffy was indicted on 2 charges, criminally negligent homicide and manslaughter in the death of 26-year-old Amber Evans. According to an affidavit, Duffy was the driver in a single vehicle rollover that occurred near 12 Mile Village in North Pole. Evans was pronounced dead at the scene. Duffy was found to be under the influence and was claimed he wasn't the driver. However, an impression of the seatbelt on his left side as well as other evidence showed Duffy was driving the truck at the time it left the roadway. Now, Duffy is currently being held without bail at Fairbanks Correctional Center.
The Fairbanks North Star Borough Assembly closed its meeting at 11:30 last night without voting the air quality control ordinance that stands before it. Assemblyman John Davies, one of the 3 sponsors of the measure, moved to suspend assembly rules and work through the night in order to come to a vote. That motion failed, as did one to suspend rules until midnight. Discussion resumes in 2 weeks at the Assembly's regular meeting on February 26th. The body worked through a laundry list of amendments, voting on 14 of the better than 20 proposed changes to the ordinance. The Assembly passed an amended version of an amended brought forward by Assembly members Guy Satley and Diane Hutchison, which decreases the size of the PM 2.5 regulatory area. The 132 square mile region will now be known as the Air Quality Control Zone as opposed to the non-attainment area and will not include hilly areas outside of town.
It would take the burden off a whole lot of people who live up in the higher ground north of what we're calling Farmers Loop Ridge, very high elevations, and whose air is quite fine. And it gets the onus of some of these rules away from them.
You are going to have a revolt of half the people in this community, and even the people who don't burn wood are going to be sitting there agreeing, saying you guys are heavy-handed, and this is coming down as heavy-handed. So I'm concerned about public perception.
It's been 9 months since the Fairbanks School District Superintendent was fired, but the district is still dealing with fallout from the issues that came to light. The school board will hold a special meeting February 23rd at noon for an update regarding the former superintendent's employment termination action. The board suspended Pete Lewis last May and voted to terminate him a month later. It was believed that Lewis had information dating back to 2009 regarding alleged misconduct by district employee Claude Fulks. Now, Fulks is accused of sexual abuse of a student. The school district was sued by parents of the alleged victim and agreed to pay over $900,000 in damages.
A move is underway in the legislature this year to amend the state constitution to change the way judges are selected. Right now, a panel called the Judicial Council looks at applications and makes recommendations to the governor. The proposal would add more people to the panel. Supporters say the change would provide greater balance on the council. Critics fear it could politicize the process by increasing the number of appointees chosen by the governor. A group that opposes the change says the system works well the way it is now.
That system has worked for 50 years. We do not elect our judges like they do in Texas and other parts of the country. So we're removed from the kind of criticism that comes from politicizing the appointment of judges through elections.
The University of Alaska is taking another look at tuition rates in light of a budget deficit expected to be in the millions. A tuition increase was voted down last September, but the university says that since then, the state's fiscal situation has changed significantly. Around 40% of the university's budget comes from the state, with roughly 11% from tuition. The university says it just doesn't know how much will come in from the state this year. Now, the proposed tuition increase is 5% across the board. The UA Board of Regents is meeting February 19th and 20th on the UAA campus.
Okay, when we come back, State Senators Lisa Murkowski and U.S. Senators, Dan Sullivan, are teaming up to present a bill that would impact greatly on Alaska.
That's right, Daryl. Also, the Secretary of the Interior will be visiting Alaska next week as a guest of the Alaska Federation of Natives and will also meet with the governor and other elected officials. Now, those stories are coming up next. And welcome back. Senator Lisa Murkowski introduced legislation this week that would allow limited oil and natural gas activity within the non-wilderness coastal plain of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. Alaska's junior Senator Dan Sullivan co-sponsored the Authorizing Alaska Production Act, which would allow development of no more than 2,000 acres of the 1.5 million acre coastal plain. The bill includes strong environmental protections for fish and wildlife habitat and ensures strict consultation with regional stakeholders. Murkowski says the bill will help ensure the nation's energy security while allowing Alaska to realize the benefits of expanded energy production. She also believes it would extend the life of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline system. Sullivan says developing the coastal plain is vital to Alaska's economic future. The Obama administration has proposed designating the coastal plain as a wilderness area, which would require congressional approval. Sullivan called the president's action, quote, lawless.
At the invitation of the Alaska Federation of Natives, Secretary of the Interior Sally Jewell will attend the organization's leadership meeting in Alaska next week. This will be Secretary Jewell's second visit to the state in her official capacity. She will address the AFN Leadership Summit in Kotzebue on February 17th. In addition to the AFN Summit, Jewell will join local leaders in a tour of the town of Kotzebue and the village of Kivalina to discuss the impacts of climate change on the coastal communities. The island on which Kivalina lies is threatened by rising sea levels and coastal erosion. It's predicted that the island will be inundated by 2025. Jewell is also expected to meet with Governor Walker and other Alaska elected officials.
A Fairbanks man is in custody facing criminal charges after a high-speed chase with Alaska State Troopers. Guy Pleward is charged with failure to stop, reckless endangerment, and driving with a revoked license in the February 10th incident. According to an affidavit, Pleward fled from troopers after being stopped at the Oasis Bar, driving at speeds in excess of 80 miles per hour. Pleward ditched the car on the side of the road, leaving his girlfriend and daughter inside. Now he was later found hiding in the woods. Pleward had 2 warrants out for his arrest at the time of the chase.
Not guilty pleas for a Fairbanks teen accused of robbing a woman at gunpoint. 19-year-old Levi Skulstad was arraigned this afternoon in Fairbanks Superior Court. He faces felony charges that include armed robbery, assault, and theft. According to an affidavit, Skulstad drove with the female victim to the Tanana Valley Fairgrounds. He then allegedly pulled out a gun and demanded she gave him money. The victim told police he held the gun to her head, took her cash, and then left her in the parking lot. She hid in a ditch in temperatures at 40 below, afraid for her life. Troopers also said they found threatening text messages from Skulstad in which he said he would kill the victim's boyfriend. Skulstad is being held at Fairbanks Correctional Center on $100,000.
A Galena man faces 6 criminal charges for his part in a burglary of a liquor store. 19-year-old Kyle Nikolai was indicted by a Fairbanks grand jury on charges that include first-degree theft, burglary, and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Now, troopers say he and 2 other teens took over $60,000 cash, as well as cases of liquor, tobacco, and other items. The trio allegedly stashed the cash in various areas throughout Galena. Nikolai was recently jailed in Fairbanks for a separate assault on a disabled man. Now that charge was reduced as part of a plea deal. Nikolai is due back in court later this month.
Not guilty pleas for a Fairbanks woman accused of escaping felony detention. 40-year-old Adina Knight now faces a charge of escape, which is a Class B felony. Knight allegedly walked away from custody in July of last year and was taken back into custody last week, according to Alaska State Troopers. Knight was jailed for numerous felonies, including fraud, theft, and drug misconduct. Knight is currently jailed at Fairbanks Correctional Center. Her bail is set at $10,000 plus the condition of a court-appointed third-party custodian.
All right, well, Joe Cook is next with the Yukon Quest report, and a local hockey team advances in the state tournament.
Plus a buzzer beater for Hutch. Stay with us.
Welcome back, Interior Sports fans. Joe Cook here to get your weekend started with some Friday sports. We start with our Yukon Quest report. Brent Sass, he's just cruising along the trail. Sass, the leader, past Slavin's Roadhouse this afternoon, while Alan Moore, he was back at the Trout Creek Hospitality Stop. Both are headed toward Circle, but Sass has at least a 30-mile lead. He even had another run-in with a moose, but he and his team, they were unscathed. Hugh Neff is third, and he's about 25 miles behind Moore. Joel Uslam is fourth, and Ed Hopkins, despite an uneventful encounter with some caribou on the trail, he's in fifth. Lance Mackey is in Dawson with 13 young dogs. Circle, Central, and Two Rivers are the remaining checkpoints before the Fairbanks finish. And as we reported yesterday, UAF has let go Mallory Larinaga and Jamie Folan from the volleyball program, and UAF documents there were recruiting violations that occurred last summer. An open gym activity with UAF players and a potential recruit was recorded during an official visit. The recruit was still in her volleyball season at high school. Also, a potential recruit participated in a tryout with current UAF players and a volunteer assistant coach on the UAF staff during an official visit. These instances are not allowed under NCAA rules. Larrañaga declined to comment today. Athletic Director Gary Gray was taken aback from the findings.
There are always surprises. Sometimes, things are minor and inadvertent, so that those things can happen. But yeah, it was a surprise. We determined that we did, in fact, have some violations related to practices and recruiting and unethical conduct. And you do what you have to do. You make the self-report. You penalize yourself, and then you move on. So we'll do a thorough national search. We'll move as quickly as we can, but also as carefully as we can to make sure we do a good job and get someone on board as quickly as possible.
And there was another tough loss for the Natick men's basketball team on Thursday night at the Patty Center. The Natics led the visiting Seattle Pacific Falcons 40-35 at the half. UAF shot a nice 51% in the first half with 5 trays. Ashton Edwards and Almir Hadjisevich both had 14 points. Almir grabbed 6 boards and swatted a game-high 5 blocks for the big man. But it was a tale of 2 halves as the Natics only shot 28% in the second half. SPU outscored Alaska 39-24 in that half, using a decisive run in the final 12 minutes. SPU wins 74-64. Corey Hudson had a game-high 20 points for SPU. UAF suffers its 9th straight loss, dropping to 5-16 overall and 2-11 in the GNAC. They'll entertain MSUB Saturday at 1 o'clock at the Patty. The North Pole Patriots played for pride this afternoon in the state hockey tournament. Today they faced off against the Diamond Lynx in the consolation round at the Menard Sports Complex in Wasilla. The Patriots lost 4-1. Cody Frary, his goal made it a 2-1 game for the Pats in the second period, but that's as close as North Pole will get. The Pats finished 11-12 overall and 1-3 in postseason play this year. The West Valley Wolfpack, they will face Wasilla tonight at 7:30 in the semifinal. Wasilla defeated the defending champion South Anchorage Wolverines 4-3 in double overtime on Thursday night. West Valley beat Wasilla 6-4 back in November. Thursday night, the North Pole Patriots boys basketball team had a non-conference tilt at home. The Colony Knights came up from the Valley for their first game of a 3-game interior road trip. Knights, Patriots, sounds like the Revolutionary War. The Knights used a full-court press to stifle North Pole and force some turnovers. They shut out the Patriots in the first quarter. Marshall Chase, though, he had 9 points for the Pats, but Colony, they led 31-10 at the half. Ethan Selmer scored a game-high 12 points. Robert Sonnenberg added 11 points for the Knights. And Colony wins 59-38. They will play later tonight. And check out this video from Valdez at the Elks tournament on Thursday. The Hutchinson Hawks girls basketball team, they get another buzzer beater from Ellie Veazey. Seward tied the game at 37-all with 15 seconds left. This time Veazey gets in the paint and gets the rainbow to go as the clock tick down. She had a game-high 19 points, including 12 in the fourth quarter. Of course, that buzzer beater, Hutchinson wins their Elks tournament opener 39-37 over Seward in dramatic fashion. They will play Houston today in the second round. And other results from the Elks tournament in the boys bracket, the Hutchinson boys were also victorious over Seward, winning 66-42. Mike Benson and Spencer Johnson both scored 12 points for the game high. Delta Junction, they beat Houston 56-42. The Helkin boys, Josh and Micah, both scored 15 for the Huskies. Hutchinson and Delta will meet for the 3rd time this season in today's semifinal. The Hawks are 2-0 against the Huskies. Lastly, we announced the play of the week. By far the most votes I received on Twitter and the I-5 poll for this play. You, the people, picked Jason Donald's career-high 5-goal game in last Friday's MAC semifinal against Juneau. Donald's 5 goals were a part of a comeback as North Pole won 8-4 after trailing 3-4 in the third period. They clinched their first state tournament berth since 2006. To pick the next play of the week, watch for the I-5 Interior Top 5 plays on Mondays during the weekend recap. And for the weekend sports schedule, just visit Webster11.com. But that's it for sports. Mike Schultz is next with your full weather forecast, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey everyone, welcome back into the Fbx Evening News. Mike Schultz once again on a Friday night talking about weather. It was a beautiful day. Even though the thermometer didn't reflect it because the temperature was like 7 or 8 degrees, it felt a lot better because all that sunshine out there. I think because we've been going through the 30 and 40 below temperatures, and it's going to get better. I'll tell you about that in just a little bit. Nice photograph night. This one sent in by Al Mansma. Cabin in the Aurora. As you can see, a beautiful shot of the Aurora in the background there. And as always, if you have a photograph you want to share with the audience, send it to photos@ktvf11.com. and we'll be more than happy to let the audience see what you've got to offer. Here's your almanac. Today's high 4 degrees above, the low last night 1. The record high was 1942, got up to 41 that day. Record low 52 below in 1950. Sunrise and sunset, about 8 hours and 25 minutes of daylight, a gain of 7 minutes from yesterday. On the satellite and radar, a little bit of an area of low pressure spinning around the Gulf of Alaska, but not really doing a whole lot for us. It's just helping to continue to circulate the warm temperatures up our direction, and it's getting more intense over the next few days too. What's going on across the rest of the state? Well, over southeast Alaska, the rains continue to fall. 41 degrees at Juneau, 48 at Ketchikan. Also raining at Kodiak, 40 degrees there, just cloudy skies at Anchorage. And a little rain and snow activity around the Cold Bay area. Up and down the west coast, warming up nicely in Nome, 17 degrees there. Just the opposite at Barrow, 25 below and 11 below at Fort Yukon. Lower 48 weather going over the Pacific Northwest. First of all, the rains have stopped there. Nice day in Seattle, 60 degrees. 78 in Las Vegas. Denver at 62. Warming up a little bit in Dallas, 67 degrees. Minneapolis still pretty chilly and going to get colder over the northeast. A lot of snow falling once again over the northeast, and it's going to get really nasty there. On the satellite and radar, you can see again the little pockets of moisture rotating across the Great Lakes, helping to develop that snow effect. And you can also see the formation of the jet stream as it takes itself up and then over. And all this cold air feeding down is going to bring misery for the Northeast by this weekend. And as you can see why, a blizzard is expected to pop up. This is going to be called they're calling this a hurricane snow. Wow, because the winds are expected to be more than hurricane force, and blowing and drifting snow, 18 inches is possible. And once again, parts north of Boston, and just a real mess there. That's going to continue. And all because of the jet stream. Once again, look at the jet stream diving way down from the north, down to the south, and pulling all that cold air across much of the eastern half of the country. Down to the south, it's rain. And out to the west, that's where the best weather is. Lots of warm conditions out to the west. All right, back to Alaska for tomorrow. Cold and sunny at Barrow, cloudy skies at Nome, and scattered clouds in the Fort Yukon area. Over the south, I should say the interior sections, looking at scattered clouds for Fairbanks and Healy, more clouds at Delta Junction, while over the southeast sections, periods of rain for Juneau and occasional rain expected in Ketchikan. And if you're heading out to the southwest, it looks like rain likely for Cold Bay, isolated showers for Kodiak, and partly cloudy at Bethel. While down in the Anchorage area, looking at windy conditions around the Anchorage Bowl. In fact, Turnagain arm winds could be 55 to 65 mile-an-hour winds. Rain showers for Homer, and rain and snow in Valdez. Okay, it's a Friday night, which means it's time for our Winter Trails Report. As you can see here, lots of sunshine, very comfortable temperatures for all your outdoor activities. Just watch out when you're out and about for ponds or rivers that may have some open areas, because I've seen a lot of that going on. Again, thanks to Beaver Sports and Northern Power Sports for our Winter Trails Report. Here's your forecast for tonight. Quickly going by. As you can see, tonight we're looking at 9 degrees below zero. Tomorrow's high, 12 degrees above, another day like today, and a little warmer too. But you talk about warm, look at the temperatures for next week. That's not a mistake, folks. Those are 30-degree temperatures all the way from Monday right on through Thursday, with overnight lows also rising very nicely to the teens above for the daytime, overnight lows, I should say. Maybe a chance of some snow on Sunday. And that's about it. Otherwise, lots of sunshine and warm temperatures, and probably also very slick roads, too.
I'll take it.
Yeah, looking like October.
Fantastic.
That is great weather.
Yeah,
so the question is, I have to ask, tomorrow's Valentine's Day. So what is one of the weirdest things you've gotten?
Socks.
I don't really know.
Yeah.
I think that we may have some answers to that tomorrow for our Saturday edition of the Fairbanks Evening News.
Okay.
Katie Looper may have some. So think about that.
Okay.
What's the weirdest gift you've gotten?
Gotcha.
I'm going to think
Answer
about
your
that.
question, your own question.
I don't really know. I have to
right.
think about it now.
Okay.
Well, you'll have to tune in tomorrow to find out.
Yeah, I'm going to have to tune in too for that.
Okay, that will wrap up this edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. We are glad you could join us.
Tonight on NBC Nightly News, Oregon Governor John Hitz-Haber, I hope I said that right.
That's right.
Great, has resigned over a growing scandal. That's not great. So find out what's going on with that. That's coming up next with Lester Holt.
Yep. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow night at 6 and 11 for the Interior's only news and sportscast, and you'll find out about
The weirdest
those
Valentine's Day.
weird Valentine gifts.
Yeah, I guess we will. From all of us here at the News Center. Have a good night.